So this is basically a follow-up to my Arena Offense series that I did a week ago. Um, so those videos covered Arena Offense, but they did not cover Arena Defense, which is the other half of Arena and arguably the more important aspect of Arena. So here's my Arena Defense, just quickly. This is not actually my normal Arena Defense. I pulled a second Rakan like last week, so I've been trying it out, seeing how it fares against my normal defense. But my normal defense is usually this. And just like my arena offense, I've been using this defense for probably this just as long. I pulled all these units roughly around the same time, and I've just been too lazy to change arena defense during rush hour. So yeah, I've been using this one arena defense for the past 7 months ish. And so just as I get asked about how I go about things in the offense side of arena, I also get asked how I go about doing things in the defense side of arena. And I guess this is just a really long rant about, one, the current state of Summoner's War, and two, hopefully how you can potentially get around that current meta the same way I did. So, first off, why did I pick this defense? A lot of people right now, like everyone knows, the current meta is make your defense Lucian proof. This defense is absolutely not Lucian proof. Like one Lucian will probably wipe out 3 out of my 4 guys on this defense. But right now, in high up arena, this is a really popular model. So speed lead, specifically Water Fairy King if you have it, and if you are in high arena, you will see that everyone somehow has the Water Fairy King. Orion, specifically Orion, not Bernard or Kabila, but Orion, because he has that element of unpredictability. He has this inbuilt violent proc on his first skill, which can chain into this skill. So Harmless Prank is really why Orion is so coveted for arena defense, because he can strip a buff, he can stun, he can land defense break, and he can land heal block. And it should be noted that this heal block is a 3-turn heal block. And also, it increases the attack bar of all allies, just like Bernard. But, so potentially, he could start off with this, and then his next turn, he does run, and then he could potentially chain twice into another Harmless Prank. On top of that, his second skill is pretty much a guaranteed defense break, since it lands as a crushing hit on everyone, regardless of what element you are. So that's why Orion is the ideal attack bar booster for defense. This guy, he is there to pretty much try and mess up Lucian comps, though I'm not sure how often it works, but it's worked out for me so far, so I keep him in there. His passive is really what makes him great. So regardless of what happens, he's going to get a quarter of his attack bar after the enemy moves. And as I said, right now, the meta in arena offense is Lucian. So how do Lucian teams work? You have a Bernard that goes first, and then you have a Megan that goes second. So you know that before anything else happens, before the first Lucian can even attack, this Dark Horus is going to get 50% of his attack bar. And most of the time, that means he will be able to move before the first Lucian moves. Also because I have a speed lead here, so that just increases the chances of him moving before the Lucian does. And he can use this skill, which pushes back the attack bar of everyone. That could potentially mess up Lucian comps, because if, say, my Omduat cuts in between the Bernard and the Megan, my Omduat could push back Megan, and then, well, Megan won't be able to buff. So it could mess up the turn order so that it becomes Bernard who moves first, and then a Lucian who moves second, and then the Megan might move third, and then the second Lucian moves fourth. But obviously the first Lucian won't have the attack buff, right? So that's why Omduat is also a really popular option right now. Rakan, this slot, the slot that Rakan is filling, is usually taken up by a bruiser, but again, because the current meta right now is Lucian, you would prefer a fire bruiser. And the two most popular fire bruisers right now are either Kumar or Rakan. Rakan is the preferred choice because of his third skill, which can do a lot of damage. So basically, the ideal model right now is Water Fairy King as your speed lead, Orion. Usually, you would either have, instead of Umduat, you might have a Stripper to get rid of Will, and then Bruiser. Now, there are obviously more options. I am just limited to this defense because I don't have units, like I don't have any Wind Bruisers, I don't have a Retesh, I don't have the other, typical Nat 5s that you see on Arena Defense. But the biggest mistake that I think I see, well, here are the three biggest mistakes that I think I see people making in this game. And this can be anyone from as low as Challenger rank to as high as Conqueror rank. People who make these mistakes. And the first mistake is raiding too early. So for some reason, I'm not sure why, I see a lot of people who aren't even finishing Conqueror who try and jump into raids. And I just don't understand why. Because raids are meant to be something that improve your runes. If you aren't even finishing Conqueror rank yet, chances are your runes aren't worth improving. So you're better off staying in Giants, Dragons, whatever, and getting better runes, and then focusing on raids after your rune quality has improved. Because personally for me, I didn't even start raiding until I was finishing Conqueror 3. So if I don't need to raid until Conqueror 3, you probably don't either. So I would say, just my personal opinion, you shouldn't even touch raids until you are finishing at least Conqueror 2, or you have the rune quality of a Conqueror 2. Conqueror 1 is still, in my opinion, too low rune quality to be wasting raid, or what are they called, gemstones or whatever on. So that's the first mistake. Before I talk about these mistakes though, it should be said that this is one of the flaws. These are one of the flaws of Summoner's War right now. The fact that everyone just copies each other. Like, everyone is basically just a sheep. And that is both a strength and a flaw for this game. So one of the strengths that I would say comes from everyone copying each other is that it's easier to rune monsters. Because, everyone follows a set path. Orion is usually swift or violent. Woozer, the same, usually swift or violent. Damage dealers, they're usually fatal or rage. Like who have I got here? You know, Lucian, rage, or fatal, or what's this? Fatal again. You know, so Ethna, fatal. Um, Delphoy is usually violent now. Jameer is usually violent. Veramos, violent. So there's all the set like rune builds that everyone follows. Um, I know some people will say, well, that's a weakness because then there's no variation. This video isn't about that, so I'm just going to leave it at, for the most part, I think it's a strength. But one of the weaknesses of everyone copying each other is, as I just said, the first people make mistakes and then those mistakes get embedded. Like, for example, I remember way back, like last year, when all the low levels used to, you know, shout rip when someone pulled a Tiana, because someone decided to say, oh well, Tiana is not useful at all because she removes both my buffs and the enemy buffs, and then that somehow got embedded into the challenger player base. So all the challengers would go rip, rip, it's a Tiana, you know, worst Polar Queen, whatever. And now they know better because they see that the higher players, like, we pretty much want Tiana. We covet Tiana, right? So it's just a whole big mess of just people following each other. And so, as I said, 3 mistakes that come from this. The first mistake is raiding too early. The second mistake is Necro. So I would go as far as to say probably 70% of the people who farm Necro don't need to. Like, myself personally, I live in Giants. I don't even do Dragons. And while I do have a speed team for Dragons, I do not have a speed team for Necro at all. In fact, I still only have the one team for Necro that I used way back when Necro first came out, and I built a team simply to clear it. I think it's like a 4-minute team or something. If I did Necro today, that would still probably be the team that I use, because I've never farmed Necro at all. I don't have any will runes on any of my monsters. I think like Chloe is the only one who has will, and she's like, I don't ever use her. So I don't have any vampire runes. I don't have any Necro runes. And I still get along, like, I still do pretty well off for myself. So, second mistake, Necro. You don't really need to farm it unless you're already really high level, because Giants has, with the exception of probably Will, you don't need anything in Necro if you aren't high level. Like, you don't need Vampire, you don't need Rage because there's Fatal, and I don't know what else Necro gives because I don't farm Necro. And the third mistake, which is probably the thing that I will talk about most since this is a video about it, making the wrong arena defense. So I see so many people who these days they ask, what should I build for my arena defense? And when they're given suggestions, they go, oh, but that's not Lucian proof. And here's one of the biggest things I think is a flaw about everyone copying each other. The fact that everyone seems to think you have to make a Lucian proof defense. Because if you look at my defense, it's absolutely not Lucian proof. You know, maybe this Dark Horus pulls it off and he messes up the Lucian comp, but as you can clearly see, it doesn't happen often because I average about less than 20 successful defenses a week. So clearly, my defense is not Lucian proof. And yet I still use it. Why? Because so many people they follow the set meta that you need to make a defense that wins defenses, that stops Lucians successfully. And I would say that is completely wrong. Because unless you are among the best players in the game, unless you are a Guardian 3, you are always going to have players that can beat you and will beat you, right? So again, as you can see, I win less than 20 defenses a week. And here's something I do that for some reason just blows people's minds. If you're losing basically all your defenses, why bother with runes, right? Because if you're losing, it means your runes aren't good enough. If you're losing, it means there is literally no difference between using a team full of monsters that are unruned and a team full of monsters who have your best runes. Because you either win or you lose. And if you lose, it means it's the same thing as having no runes, because your defense isn't doing its job and winning. So instead of making a defense that wins, shift your focus to making a defense that completely stops people from attacking you. Like a defense that people will look at and they will go, I don't even want to touch that. Because even if you could make a defense that is successful 50% of the time, or even 100% of the time, even though that's impossible, what is the point of that if you get attacked, say, 300 times a week? And even if you win 50% of those battles, that's still 150 battles that you're losing. So instead of that, why not make a defense that completely just makes people not want to attack it at all? So I get attacked about 140 times on average a week. And that is actually pretty low. Like if you look at a lot of people who rush up in high Guardian arena or even Conqueror 3 arena, most of the people who try to rush for those ranks and don't get it, it's because their defense is taking too many hits, as high as probably 200 attacks. And because you're getting attacked more, it means you're losing more points. So I've had weeks where just for the funsies, I chucked in my Bernard to see if it would work better than Orion. And here are my Bernard runes. And these are literally the runes that he had on him when I put him on arena defense. Because who goes into an arena fight and assumes that the enemy is going to have unruned monsters? If you're in Fighter 3 and people see a Bernard, they're going to assume that that Bernard is runed with Fighter 3 runes. It's going to be as fast as a Fighter 3 Bernard. If you're in Conqueror 3, people are going to assume that your Bernard is as fast as a Conqueror 3 Bernard. So it doesn't matter what kind of runes you have. You know, like the week that I put Bernard on defense, I finished Guardian. And, you know, people who attack my defense would be wondering, you know, why is my Bernard so slow? He's moving last. He's slower than even my slowest monster. Okay, well, he's not. But here's another example of runing, you know. My Rakan is not on Vampire. It's not on Violent. It's just got runes. And it's probably so slow that it never even gets a move off. But that's not the point of the defense. The point of the defense is to stop people from even attacking me at all. Like, the hope is they'll see my Water Fairy King, who is a speed lead, and then they'll see my Orion, so they'll assume that I get the first move, and then they see Rakan, and then they think my Rakan's going to be, you know, as fast as a a typical Conqueror 3, Guardian 1 Rakan, and that he'll get a move off and he'll collapse and do all that stuff. When in reality, my Rakan is so slow that my Orion will probably get 3 moves off before my Rakan even moves once. You know? But no one's going to know that until they fight you. But even then, there are not enough... No, sorry. This player base is too large for people to, like, remember you. Like, I'm sure there are some people who will go, oh yeah, Nox Floretta, I know his defense. It's, it's got trash runes. Even if one person does, one person isn't going to be enough to make or break your defense. They're not going to, like, see you on their arena list so much that you, like, get targeted. So, yeah, I think that's the first step to improving your arena defense. Just put a combination of monsters that you think is most scary, and then if you don't have the runes, doesn't matter, leave them unruined. Because at the end of the day, I really am, like, I'm not your average Guardian. I don't spend money on this game. I don't have the resources of a normal Guardian. Like, if you look at my runes, you know, they're pretty trash. They're pretty bad for your average Guardian. But I still make do with what I have by playing smart. So I may not have the same resources, but I try to level the playing field against other Guardians by playing smart and not just doing things mindlessly. For example, like Rush Hour, you know, I don't refill, but I play smartly with the wings that I do have instead of just mindlessly doing a full hour of arena wings with refills and whatnot to get my rank, because I can't. So yeah, so I just had to get crafty and I just had to think outside of the box. I still copy people, like all my rune builds, you know, they're all generic. Swift on Orion, Despair Nemesis on Water Fairy King, but where I don't copy other people is where it matters, like arena defense, like arena offense. You know, I get so many people who call me out for lying when I say that I don't use more than one arena offense, and it's not Lucian. Because everyone is so used to hearing, you know, if you're only going to use one offense on arena in order to be successful, it has to be Lucian, otherwise it can't be done. And because everyone is so used to hearing that, when someone like me comes along, everyone just calls out, yeah, no, it can't be done, you're lying. You know? And that's another flaw of everyone being sheep and just copying everyone. You don't branch out and you don't explore new things, like try new things that might help you improve your game. Like, I'm sure a lot of you who watch this will never, it will have never even occurred to you that there is no difference between using monsters who are unruined and monsters who have your best runes if your defense just loses all the time. And yeah, so I basically relied on this, just like thinking out of the box, to make up for the fact that I don't have the resources of a typical Guardian because I don't spend. I don't have the crystals, I'm not able to do rune runs all day. That is why my runes aren't as good as a typical Guardian, but I still am able to play with the Guardians because I make up for that by playing smart. So in terms of arena defense, I can't really show you because I don't have the units, but I guess we could go through a few. So the biggest thing is speed leads. Almost everyone in arena these days has a speed lead on defense. So this guy has Ciara, Water Fairy King, Chiwu, another speed lead. There's another speed lead. That's not a speed lead. That's the 6th guy on my list. Speed lead. No speed lead. No speed lead. speed lead. So out of these 10 guys on my list, 7 people had a speed lead. Let's refresh and see. Oh, this is much different. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So on this list, only 4 people had speed leads, but the point is a lot of people have speed leads. And having a speed lead on your defense is really handy because it really forces your opponent to pick their own speed lead, otherwise they will probably get outsped. So that only leaves them 3 slots. So that automatically already counters Lucian, because in order for Lucian to work, or a double Lucian comp to work, you need Bernard, you need a secondary attack buffer, which is usually Megan, and then obviously the 2 Lucians. There is no room for a speed lead, which means in order for them to get the first move, which is what Lucian comps usually rely on, getting the first move, they need to bring their own speed lead, and in turn, cut out 1 Lucian, which essentially halves their damage. So having a speed lead in there really does, it helps because it forces your opponent's hand. A second defense is a bruiserish defense, like, let me see if I can find one. You know, such as this. There's a Ritesh there, there's a Camilla there. You're probably not going to one-shot this. There's a Veligil in there for the Sanctuary, for the immunity, sorry. And if you don't, like, if you get your first nuke off and it doesn't work, you're going to get hit hard. Like, yeah, you're going to get retaliated against really hard. Ritesh is going to do his Trick of Wind, Veligil can, you know, give immunity, and then Camilla can slowly start to heal herself back up. And because you've already attempted to nuke them out and you failed, you're not going to have anything to wipe out the Camilla. And even if you do, there's a Vanessa there to revive the Camilla, and Ritesh can heal and all that stuff. So again, here's a pretty standard Bruiserish comp. There's a Monkey King there with his passive, which reduces damage, so it makes him hard to wipe him out. Leica's passive, can't really one-shot it. And then you have Ariel, who's probably on Nemesis will to cut in after your first Lucian or your first nuke, and then heal up the enemy team. And then there's a Chasun there to heal up again. So that's basically probably going to be a full heal. And again, if you use all your nukes on turn 1 and you fail to kill the damage dealers, you're going to be wide open for attack while you wait for your nukes to come off cooldown. So that's a bruiser defense. Yeah. So the two most popular defenses right now are the model that I'm using, which is Speed Lead, Orion, Stripper, or this guy, and then Bruiser. And then the second most used arena defense is just a full Bruiser comp that will bear the brunt of an initial nuke and then attempt to wipe you out by recovering from that first nuke and then slowly picking you off. So if you want to use a defense that, you know, tries to make people not attack it at all, these are the 2 defenses that I would recommend using. Either this model or a Bruiser model with, you know, chuck in an aerial, so people are going to think it's going to be on Nemesis will, it's going to cut in, you know. It's basically all about mind games, making the opponent think this or that is going to happen when in reality it might not. You know, because the most important aspect is during rush hour, people don't want to take risks. You know, during the week, it really doesn't matter. Like, if you get attacked by every single person in the world, during the week, it doesn't matter because you can quickly recover from that by just attacking and using all your wings for like the last 2 days of the week. So Saturday, Sunday, and then rush is on Monday for me. So yeah, it's an easy recovery. What really matters is how your defense performs during rush. And if you have, say, for example, this element of risk, like I have Water Fairy King there, if whoever attacks me during rush hour, if they fail to reset me, they're in a whole lot of trouble because my Water Fairy King is going to come back and hopefully stun someone. My Dark Horus there can stun people. My Rakan might proc collapse every single attack. My Orion might get a lot of violent procs and just keep harmless pranking. There's a lot of risk involved in this when people attack me. So during rush hour, I don't get attacked that much. Like, you can go back and watch some of my other rush hour videos. And in the 20 minutes that I attack during rush, I only get attacked about maybe 5-6 times. So that's really helpful with keeping my rank. Because if you don't get attacked at all, that means your rank isn't going down. Your rank is only going up as you use your wings, and you don't have to worry about your rank going down. And again, runes. No one is going to assume that your monsters are really unruned, even when they might be. People are going to assume that your monsters are runed to the standard of whatever rank you are in. Use that to your advantage. You might be thin on runes like I am. I don't have the runes to make a beast Rakan. I don't have the runes to make a beast Umdua. Like his speed is good, but his health and his defense are horrible. My Rakan, it's a joke. It's so slow, it probably never even moves, and so on. But who's going to know that? People go in attacking me, and they're probably going to think that my Rakan is on Vampire Will, so they might bring in a stripper to strip the will off my Rakan, and then they find out that there is no will, and then they will have brought a stripper for nothing. So they just wasted a slot because most strippers don't do damage. And again, it's the whole aspect of playing mind games with your opponent, making them think that they need to bring in a stripper when they really don't, and then that forces them to waste a slot. I have a speed lead, so they'll probably bring in their own speed lead, so that's already 2 slots that have forced their hand. They're going to bring in a speed lead to counter my speed lead, and they're going to bring in a stripper to hopefully strip the will off my Rakan, who doesn't have will, and then they pick their other 2 units, whatever. But that can sometimes be the difference between a win and a loss. Like, yes, I have said that I make my defense to completely ward off attacks, but, winning a defense doesn't hurt. So, yeah, like, it's all about just playing smart. Playing smart where it counts, and copying other people where it counts. For example, rune builds. You're probably not going to get very far if you try to go off and be fancy with rune builds, because the reason rune builds, everyone copies each other's rune builds, is because they work. If you try and go off and be fancy and make a, Vampire Orion, well, that's not really going to do anything. So in terms of that, you need to pick where you play smart. Rune builds, just be a sheep, copy everyone, because that works. Arena defense, however, go off, like be bold. Don't follow the meta, because then people like me take advantage. For example, if this was someone's defense, I would probably still attack it, but that's because my arena offense is specifically tailored to take on a lot of anti-Lucian comps. And yeah, so it's really just about playing smart. Obviously, if you're a player who spends money on this game, then if you spend money and you play smart, that's like you're a god, you know? And that is what makes Guardian 3 players the best. Because they spend, so they have the advantage there of resources, but they also play smart. You know, you have players who do really odd things like what is it? That double Leo thing, that double Leo arena defense that I saw. I'm not sure who made it, but you know, you don't see that every often. You don't see that ever. And this game has been out for 3 years, but it took that long for someone to figure out that double Leos work in arena because they dared to do something different instead of just going with the meta that works. If you can get around that meta, you basically just have a easy. You're basically just here's a free pass to winning the game and being able to cruise through it. You know. So yeah, I guess that would be my advice on playing the game. Arena defense, obviously, because this was ultimately meant to be an arena defense video. Um, I guess I will end the video by saying that I see a lot of people, like right now, the people I see most are people trying to get into Conqueror Arena. So fighters that are trying to break into uh, that Conqueror bracket, and they don't, you know, they seem to have a lot of trouble. Honestly, it's as easy as just forget everything that you do. Forget Guild Wars, forget Arena. My advice to you, if you're a fighter trying to break into Conqueror Arena, would be free rune removal, which is tomorrow. Strip everything. You know, forget Guild Wars. You know, sit out of Guild Wars. Forget Arena. Sit out of Arena. Pick 5 monsters that will carry you in Giants. This is my this is my Giants team. And just sit in Giants for like a month or 2 months or maybe even 3 months. But sit in Giants and make the best team you can make that will carry you in Giants and get you a consistent finish. Like try to aim for at least 90% success rate, and at slowest, finish Giants in under a minute and a half. Like ideally, if you can get a Giants team that is 90% success rate at least and finishes average 1 minute or less, you bring that team and you just go hard in Giants. Like stop summoning, stop using your crystals for anything other than runes, and just farm Giants really hard for several months. And I can almost guarantee that you will get the runes that you need to break into Conqueror rank. Because personally for me, the only unit on my team that uses Violent is Galleon. And Galleon, he could still work on Swift. If you have some really dope Swift runes and you get a like plus 180 Galleon or something, you know, on Swift, that will work just as good as a Galleon on Violent, you know, because you're getting that sorry. But yeah, you're getting that turn advantage. And right now for Giants, a really popular team that people use is this right here. So Galleon as your solo support, and then 4 damage dealers. And why is Galleon like perfect for this? It's not actually because of his loot skill. It's actually because of his second skill, which, if you don't know, is a pushback, a single target pushback that is on a 2-turn cooldown. So he can use that pretty much like every turn. It feels like he can use it every turn because it's on such a low cooldown. And you really rely on Galleon to keep the boss from moving at all. Because even for me, with this team, if the boss moves, my team they disappear. Because no one on this team is built to take a hit. They're built to just go fast and just do as much damage and just wipe out the boss before he can move. So as you can see here, my Galleon is pushing back the... Alright, well, it's really fast, so it's hard to explain, but if you can get a Galleon that's really fast and will keep the boss locked down, that gives you leeway to just put 4 nukers on your best damage dealer runes and just go to town on Giants. Because what does Giants give? It gives Swift, which is arguably one of the most important rune sets in the game, because right now the meta is speed. It gives Fatal, so your damage dealers are covered. It gives Blade, again, damage dealers, and it gives Despair, which is also increasingly becoming very important in the entire game. In PvP, in real-time arena, a lot of people build their Geminis on Despair. My Dark Horus is built on Despair. Water Fairy King is built on Despair. Yeah, so my advice would be from the very start, let's say you have no runes at all, make a Dragons team. Just make a simple Dragons team. Get a decent Violent set for the monsters who need it. For example, for me, I only need Violent on Galleon, so that was easy. I just need 1 Violent set. And then after that Violent set is completed and I have it down, switch over to Giants and just literally live in Giants for several months. And then you will get the runes that you need to, break into Conqueror. Because it's really not that hard. The thing that separates high-level players from low-level players is simply just how many runs we do. Because when I say, live in Giants, I mean put in the work. And by put in the work, I don't mean just use the energy that you are given by playing, throughout the day naturally. You can't just say, oh, well, I farm Giants all day. But, your definition of all day is maybe 3 hours a day. So that means you're doing 270, maybe 200 energy of Giants a day. And then you'll go, that's me farming every day, but, I'm not getting anywhere. What I mean by put in the work is you need to go ham. You need to be using all your crystals as soon as you get them on Giants. You need to be doing as many runs as a typical Guardian does. I do probably 300 crystals a day when I can. And if you do that, you will get into Conqueror easily. Because 10 refills... 10 refills? Yeah, 10 refills, that's 300 crystals. That's 130 runs. I find that for me, personally, I get, every refill, I get about 12 to 13 runs. So 10 refills, that's already 130 runs. So you do that for 2 to 3 months, guarantee that you will break into Conqueror easily. It's all about putting in the work. You have to put in the work. You can't just, even if you're a pay-to-win player and you just, summon all the Nat 5s in the world, what good are they going to be if you don't have the runes to use them? And I see that a lot. People who have 10 Nat 5s, who have 15 Nat 5s, and they can't even break into Conqueror. Why? Because runes are that important. So that's my biggest tip. That's the biggest thing that I get asked, how to break into Conqueror. And that's my answer to you. So this was really long, sorry about that. But I think it's worth listening to the whole way. So if this helps you, great. And I guess I'll leave it there. I'll do a few giant runs, I guess, just to show how my team works, and hopefully you can replicate it. Sigmaris is a really, really good unit to have. I use some of my best runes are on Sigmaris, and I don't use them anywhere besides giants and dragons. So that that should like show you how important Sigmaris is to me, because he's easy to get. You know, he's fusible. Everyone can get him. A lot of people these days have Galleon. A lot of people these days have at least one Lucian. But even if you don't have Lucian, you can use, say, I don't know, the Wind Ifrit. You know, there are a lot of options for damage dealers. So as long as you can get a Galleon, or even worst case, if you don't have a Galleon, we had the Wind Pirate Hall of Heroes a while ago. But if you still have one of those saved up, use that, because the Wind Pirate Captain has the same second skill as Galleon, and as I said, Galleon, his second skill is what makes this team work. It's not time to loot. It's not the AoE defense break. That is merely, that helps, but without the second skill, this team would not work. Like, if Galleon's second skill was on a 3-turn cooldown instead of a 2-turn cooldown, this would probably not work. So Galleon really is the backbone to a team like this. So build your Galleon, make him super good, and then put your best damage dealer runes on, you know, your monsters, on your team, whatever it may be, and then forget about Arena for a month. You know, it's not going anywhere. Forget about Guild Wars. Maybe you might have leftover runes, and then you can, you know, rune up some units to build a Guild Wars team or something. But your primary focus, like if you're really going to commit to this, your primary focus should be to make a Giants team, because isn't it worth like ditching Guild Wars and Arena for a month if after that month or after that 2-month period you come back and you're not only able to break into Conquer Arena, you have the runes to also take on higher Guild War comps that you might not have been able to take on. So it's worth it in the end, right? But you have to put in the work. Like, you have to be willing to go hard in Giants, use all your crystals. You know, just there's no trick to getting good in this game. You just have to do the rune runs. So that's probably my final tip to you. And yeah, thanks for watching and best of luck.